pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going to be entering public session, 7:08. Motion to enter. Motion by Ms. Malito, second by Mrs. Weiss. All in favor? 4-0. All right, everybody, good evening. Just wanted to convey Mrs. Freed sent her request for not being here this evening. Looks forward to being here next meeting, and congratulates everybody who's getting honored tonight. We wish everybody the best. Right. A motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, for January 24th. Motion by Mrs. Weiss, second by Mrs. Mamalito. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? 4-0. Thank you. And we are going right into accommodations. Dr. Bosser.
Thank you, Mr. Tomio. I got to tell you, we have had a tremendous number of outstanding accomplishments by both individual student athletes and teams representing our high school and middle school over the last number of months. So to select a small number of students to recognize for the distinguished accomplishments they've made was quite the task. Tonight we have some of our most outstanding student athletes present, and we look forward to recognizing their accomplishments along with the board and community. And to help us to do so, I'd like to call upon our Director of Health, Physical Education and Athletics, Mr. Shannon.
Thank you, Dr. Bosser. I'd like to bring up Stephen Littell, Sandy Lynn, Steve Stern's office. Please come out.
Justin.
Jeff. Good evening, Dr. Bosser, Board of Education, parents, administration, and student athletes. Tonight, the athletic department has the opportunity to recognize an outstanding group of student athletes. These athletes represent themselves, their families, in the Elwood School District in the classroom, the gymnasium, and in our athletic fields. They represent sportsmanship, high character, teamwork, dedication, and discipline. These are just a few of the outstanding qualities the young men and young women behind me bring to John H. Glenn High School and our athletic program. The student athletes that I will be speaking about are the best of the best in Suffolk County and New York State. They certainly are our Elwood All-Stars. I'd like to call up each one of our All-Stars, starting out with the ladies. Ladies first. I'd like to bring up Alyssa Adamaides, basketball. Alyssa broke the 1,000-point barrier last year as a junior. This year, she is currently averaging an amazing 26.4 points per game. She scored 54 three-point shots, 132 two-point shots, and has converted an amazing 102 free throws. Currently, she has scored an amazing 1,614 points in her career and is John Glenn's all-time leader in points. Alyssa will be attending Adelphi University in the fall to continue her career. Congratulations on a great career.
Pen chair, please. Come on, man.
Next up, we have Mia Sergel, volleyball. Mia, come on. Mia was selected Suffolk County Outstanding Senior Volleyball Player, League 7 Player of the Year, All Long Island Elite 8 Player, as well as All-State Honors. In 2018, Mia has 52 aces and 9 kills, 13 blocks, 110 digs, and 188 assists. Mia will be continuing her academic and athletic career at Bryant University in the fall. Mia was also captain of the team, providing excellent leadership and heart. Congratulations on a stellar career. Congratulations.
Parents?
Next up. Next up, we have Caroline Garrison, volleyball. Caroline received all-county and all-state honors for the 2018 season. Caroline's statistics are very impressive. She had 65 kills, 2 aces, 19 blocks, and 18 digs. Her hard work and dedication and positive personality exemplified the 2018 team. Congratulations on an excellent career, and wish you the best.
Absolutely.
You've heard this little anecdote before, but for our 2 volleyball girls, my daughter also plays volleyball at the varsity level for Port Jefferson. So I spoke to Coach Shanahan and I said, I know they're not competing on the league level or have a sanctioned match this year, but what do you think about bringing the Port Jeff team to Glen just for a little scrimmage? Because it would be fun for me to watch my daughter and her team play. And he goes, why don't you go down to the gym and check out the girls before you move forward with that suggestion? Someone would have gotten killed. So, I appreciate the cautionary tale from Coach Shanahan, and it really was a pleasure to watch you girls perform this year. The volleyball team and your skill set is nothing less than amazing, and congratulations on 2 very successful careers.
Next up, we have Adam Estorita, soccer. Coach Luhanner is here tonight with his son Dylan. Adam, 2018 statistics. He had 23 goals, 14 assists, which led Long Island. Adam is all-state, league MVP, all-county, scored the game-winning goal in the Suffolk vs. Nassau All-Star game. Adam has 48 career goals and 16 multi-goal games. Adam is a true gentleman, always looking to make his teammates better and providing leadership to all members of the soccer program. On behalf of the athletic program, congratulations. Hannah, thank you. Next up, we have junior Josh Fenner. Come on, basketball. Josh Fenner, all-time leader in points with 1,201 total points. He broke the 1,000-point barrier just a couple of weeks ago as well, surpassing Trevor Costa's all-time leading scoring record. Josh has 150 career three-pointers, averages 20 points in his career per game. This year, Josh is averaging an outstanding 24 points a game. He also has 216 career free throws made, school record holder for points in a game with 53 last year versus East Hampton, which was incredible. Josh, the good news is, for us, is Josh is only a junior. The bad news for everybody else is he's only a junior coming back. Josh, we look forward to more excellent games watching you play. Congratulations, Josh. Next player up is Kyle Sicoli, football. Kyle had an outstanding senior year where he has been recognized as a Suffolk County 2018 All-County Player. He's also academic All-Division, and just most recently, he's All-State. Tremendous honor. His stats this past year are outstanding. As our quarterback, he attempted 188 passes, completing 110 of them, and threw for an outstanding 1,529 yards and 16 touchdowns. He also rushed for 410 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Kyle also missed 1 game this year, so due to an injury, so his stats even make it even better than our 10 game, we only had 9. Kyle also has been a 2-year captain and provided excellent leadership. Kyle, congratulations, and we thank you for your years of hard work. Thank you, Kyle.
We just have no idea where you get your athletic talent from.
That's terrible. That's fun. That's fun.
Darren, come on.
It's okay.
Go over.
And finally, I'd like to congratulate the parents again for your children's outstanding accomplishments. And without your hard work and dedication and driving them and taking them places and financial resources, they probably would not be here. So congratulations to you. And finally, to the athletes, our expectations for you guys is that you are leaders, but you're also ambassadors. You're ambassadors to the school and to your family. Interact with young kids. They want to be like you. Be positive, be role models, and make a difference in other people's lives. Thank you for all you've done for the Elwood schools.
All right, super thanks. Firstly, I'd like to thank our athletic director and our football head coach, Mr. Shanahan, who obviously has dedicated his service that have helped so many of our students and teams. Besides, Coach Hanner is here, and the coaches who are not, who really dedicate so much of themselves and their time and the sacrifices they make in order to help these students achieve is greatly appreciated as well. I have to tell you, I had the pleasure of attending one of the most competitive and hard-fought boys basketball games I've ever seen. last night, and the two young men who participated. And I'm just glad you survived the game. I mean, that was some rough stuff going on, and the Knights were victorious in a real hard-fought battle. But it was a very entertaining game. So much better than any NBA action I've seen in the last 5 years, being a Nets fan. I look forward to watching you guys in the playoffs, and it was really a tremendous victory. And if it was okay with all of our student athletes here, we'd like to get you all back up for one group picture with you all.
Coach, would you like to join us with
More center, or are we okay with it?
Sorry. I think you're over.
Let the paparazzi I don't
Can you have everybody look over here for 1 second? On 3, 1, 2, 3. Hold on, I'm going to and let's do it.
Just wanted to say congratulations to everybody on behalf of Assemblyman Steve Stern. Couldn't make it today because wanted his voice as a school tonight, but these are extremely impressive accomplishments, and we look forward to great things to come from everybody. Have a great night.
Just want to throw it out there. It's been, both basketball records have been over a decade since both of them were broken. So just think about those two accomplishments. A decade has passed, and neither of those have been even come close to being beaten. So really, really great accomplishment. One of those athletes, as Coach said, you guys are masters of the district. So please keep up the good work. Be those role models, and we thank you and congratulate this evening. And then you can all leave because it's a school night.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm just
not dismissed.
not dismissed.
They're going to stay and support their classmate. Oh no, they're going to stay.
They're going to stay.
They're going to stay.
Dr. Foster said that with his teacher voice, so they're going to stay.
As Andy Song is our all-school president who typically provides the updates to the board, is unavailable tonight. We are blessed to have Hannah Lochin with us this evening, who will do it in her place, and we will all give her a polite round of applause.
Hello, my name is Hannah Lochin. Annie is unfortunately unavailable to be here tonight. She apologizes for her absence, but I am happy to be delivering this month's Board of Education remarks this evening on her behalf. Although only 2 weeks have passed since our last meeting, our district is still packed with exciting news. Just last night, our senior class held a Glam Gala, which was a fashion show modeled by our lovely seniors, with gentlemen modeling in dapper suits and ladies in a wide range of styles, all of the unique fashion made for an entertaining and fun night. On January 26th, our high school Science Olympiad team competed at the Eastern Long Island Division C Regionals at Ward Noble High School. Our team outstandingly placed 9th out of 52 teams in the chemistry lab event. Additionally, our student science research students, Jada Morgan, Brianna Doswell, Annie Song, and Matthew Tallow, competed in the U.S. Department of Energy's National Science Bowl Regional Qualifier at Brookhaven Labs on January 26th as well. This competition challenged the team's vast knowledge of science, and they were able to win 2 out of the 4 matches, which was a challenging feat. Just yesterday, Katie Askowitz, Madison Molman, and Joseph DiVertio, who are the students in the Independent Science Research, attended LISA Science Fair from 7:30 to 2:30. Not only do our students demonstrate their talent in the sciences, but also Rithika Naran and Sasha Jamel were selected to perform in the Long Island String Festival Association. These talented musicians were surely great additions to the orchestra. Speaking of musical talents, John Glenn is proud to present Hairspray at this year's musical on March 15th and 16th at 7 o'clock. This Monday, our students-run club Unity with Diversity will be having a showcase in honor of Black History Month. This evening will consist of poetry, dancing, singing, food, trivia, the presentation of important and thought-provoking messages, and performances from both Piedmont and Acapella. The dedicated students in this club worked incredibly hard to create a night of thoughtful reflection and entertainment. On Tuesday, our orchestra will be attending their annual exchange concert with Plainview High School and will enjoy a night of sharing their skills and making beautiful music with students from another school. We're excited to announce that Freshman Buddy nominees are coming in for faculty members. Students that embody leadership and mentoring characteristics, are reliable, and always willing to help have the privilege of being chosen to participate as the leader of this prestigious group. With the idea of excellent character in mind, it is my pleasure to report that this month's Noble Night has gone from Ms. Opp to the beloved social worker, Ms. Joanne Sepp. Our teachers have submitted very creative grant proposals to the EEE, and we look forward to seeing who receives the grant. Our summa cum laude group is getting ready to meet again to begin the process of choosing their class graduation speaker. This process, which was implemented by our SDM committee, will take place for a second year, and the class will choose a graduation speaker that best embodies their class. I am excited to see who will be speaking at this year's graduation, and I know that whoever it may be, he or she will be great. Speaking of notable students, Mia Sentinelli was awarded the National Interscholastic Administrative Association, NIAAA, Scholar Athlete Award. She is a strong student that excels in the academic and athletic field, and is a singular female winner of the Suffolk County. Additionally, the boys wrestling team will be wrestling at Center Moriches this Friday. Our Lady Knights were titled League 5 champions last at their basketball game against Sabo. The boys basketball team won a nail-biting game against Southampton with a final score of 62-58. Best of luck to both teams who will be entering the postseason. Just a quick look at the month ahead. Tomorrow night is the middle school blue and white night, and on February 9th is the Harley/Boy talent show. On the 28th, we will hold the annual volleyball-a-thon, where students of all grades will put their skills to the test. March 5th will be the Winter Athletic Awards, and the following day, the high school will be having the blood drive and international night later that evening. On March 13th, there will be a dinner and musical performance for senior citizens, and on March 19th, the new members of the Honor Society will be inducted. March 18th is the start of Substance Disability Week, and on the 19th, we will be having a Latin the Battle Assembly. James Arrigo is a social entrepreneur and motivational entertainer who uses original music to entertain and personal stories to inspire. And it was a phenomenal experience when I saw him at the Compassion Without Borders. Last but not least, Elwood Stock has been postponed to March 29th. I'd like to wish everyone a fantastic break, and I hope that you're all able to rest, relax, and enjoy time with your friends and family. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Have an excellent night.
Very capable replacement, Hannah. Thank you so much. And thank you for keeping us so updated on all the goings on throughout the district. It's appreciated. We always enjoy hearing the good things happening. Mr. Vice President, with your permission, can we dismiss us to...
Have my permission. Tried to get you guys up on this early, but I apologize.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Everybody, run while you can. Good job. Congratulations again.
Hey, Tom. Good job, good job. Tell Annie this is great.
She's to a city. Her aunt's like part of like this fashion show. And she's never got to
And now there's
How's Grace feeling, all right?
she's back, hobbling around. She's back. She's in a smaller Greece, and yeah, so she's doing
Okay. As part of our regular business meetings, we will provide updates to the board committee as to the work being done by board committees. Last month we heard from the Facilities Committee, an update from Mr. McDonald. So tonight we have scheduled a committee update from the Curriculum Department, and Dr. Hall will lead us through that.
How we doing?
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to share the work of the Curriculum Committee of the Board of Education I'd like to thank our liaisons, Ms. Freed and Mrs. Marcus. The curriculum committee has been very busy with some projects that will have a very positive impact on our students. And each time when we begin our meeting, we always take a look at some of the things that are happening in curriculum, and we try to capture some of the highlights because there really are so many vibrant things happening across our buildings. I would like to share with you that the District Shared Decision-Making Committee has reorganized, and it is composed of members of each of the buildings' Shared Decision-Making Committee. And we will be updating our district plan, and the district team will also be taking on additional responsibilities. The first one is related to the school climate survey. Dr. Bossert has signed our school district up to be one of the districts participating in a pilot for the New York State Education Department on a school climate survey. This will be a requirement of all districts next year. Right now, it's actually the third year of pilot. We're joining in year 3. The first year just started with 5 school districts, and it grew each year. There is a series of questions designed for students in grades 5 through 12, for parents, and for instructional staff, and for non-instructional staff. And the goal of the survey is to assess how all of our constituents feel about the climate of our school. This survey initiative came through the Safe Schools Task Force, and it was designed to address what happened in the tragedy in Newton, Connecticut. And the goal is to ensure that our schools are safe and our students are safe. And so the task force came up with a vision that really looks closely at social and emotional welfare, and part of that is assessing the climate of our schools. So we will be providing additional information. We will be communicating with parents. We're very pleased to have learned that BOCES will be cooperating with all the Eastern Suffolk districts, as Nassau is with Nassau districts. And, Eastern Suffolk BOCES is handling all of Suffolk County. And so there's a survey team. Mr. Tranquino's on the team with us, Mrs. Benfante, and our principals as we prepare for the survey. Once the survey is administered, then we start to analyze the results and what that means for our school district and where gaps are that we want to address. And that has to be done by a school engagement team. And the engagement team for us will be our shared decision-making committee. So once the survey process is done, which we anticipate in May, the shared decision-making committee will be helping us looking at the survey results and determining how to report out to the public. The next thing that the shared decision-making committee is helping us with is they're serving as the advisory council for the K-12 guidance program plan. And I will be presenting in March on the process we're in for creating a comprehensive school counseling program for grades K through 12 and what that looks like in terms of curriculum and programs. The advisory council's role is to assess the success of what we put in the program. So for example, if we have kindergarten orientation, we will be conducting a survey to ask parents how well it met their needs and helping them to be ready to support their child. So a lot of exciting things coming through our STM committees. Also like to share with you, Dr. Bossert, myself, our principals at Harley, Boyd, and the middle school would very much like to proceed with a homework-free night initiative. And the goal of this initiative is for all 3 buildings so that all students K-8 once a month have a night with no homework. That's in the middle of the week. We're looking at mostly Wednesdays and one Tuesday. And we would initiate that for March, April, May, and June. And the idea is that we understand how much pressure there is for students and families. We tie it back to our homework philosophy. We believe in the value of homework, and the homework philosophy came from this curriculum committee. That was the project they completed 2 years ago. So we tie it into the value of homework, but also recognizing that sometimes it's nice to have a coordinated evening where maybe families don't have to attend homework that one night. Chances are they have many other things they're attending to because we know how busy families are. But we are looking to launch our homework-free initiative beginning with 1 day designated in March. And this has been a conversation with faculty because it means, for example, that long-term projects are not due on the next day, that it doesn't coincidentally, which just happen coincidentally, but that we're really mindful to keep that next day not having that assignment. Also that there's no test the next day, so that it can truly be an evening when all the families know for that one night that additional pressure is not there. Another thing that I wanted to let you know about is just an update on what's happening with core extension and enrichment in the middle school. Dr. Sapienza will be speaking with you on April 4th, where she will give you an update on the reconfiguration of the middle school and the 9th period day. But just a couple highlights of what's happening in core extension, because they're doing such incredible hands-on, real-life task work. So, for example, in 6th grade seminar, they conducted an informational writing and online research project that resulted in an e-book. And it was really targeting all the essential skills of research for 6th graders, working in small groups, brainstorming their ideas, developing their texts. But the topics were how to manage your money in middle school and how to handle cyberbullying. In 7th grade math, students examined the costs for different cell phone companies, the rate per minute, data usage, internet usage, and then they connected it to their current topic, which they just completed on proportional relationships, to create tables of ranks. And in 8th grade, the STEAM classes finished a dream bedroom scale drawing project. They were given a budget of $10,000 to pick furniture for their dream bedroom, and then they used the actual measurements to calculate scale measurements and create a scale drawing. Some other great things, just to touch very quickly on our STEAM night. We held a STEAM night on January 17th. That was under the auspices of Mrs. Kelly Gorman and Mrs. Albrecht, our technology integration specialist. Great attendance, some really great hands-on activities. Some of the things we're able to do with donations from our wonderful community groups. And in the very corner, you'll see this is called Star Lab, and this is a portable, inflatable planetarium. And I'm seeing a nod of it. It was well done.
My absolute favorite. And I think you can't exceed anymore.
And the clarity is excellent in it, so it's pretty exciting. And what's different with STEAM, in case you've been to them in the past, is that students now get to choose whichever workshop they want to go to, and they just move at will between workshops. I know last year we brought the Google Expedition goggles here to the board meeting, and you all took a journey into a rainforest with them. We just want to let you know that that work is continuing. Students have been to Bolivia, Peru. They've gone inside the digestive system, inside cells, and stopped at Ellis Island. So those lessons continue, and of course they're so engaging and hands-on, and really create a higher level of engagement. Harley Avenue, we want to let you know that Friendship Tech Time has started again with Ms. Albrecht. And what's so important about this is that it's a technology-based group, and they're engaging in great STEM-related activities. But at the heart of the program is social-emotional learning, and it's focused on communication, collaboration, and social skills. And students are rotating in so that we have 15 or 16 students at a time for 4-week sessions. At Boyd, our teachers have been working with wonderful staff developer Amy Benjamin. Mrs. Fine has mentioned her in some of the board reports we've given. Her work is based on academic vocabulary, but she really goes back to Latin roots. She goes to the use of words, and it's very experiential. It's not someone just describing the words. The teachers are actually exploring the words, building words, and it's all concrete strategies that they can take right back to the classroom. And it also focuses on language acquisition to support individual learners. Some other highlights, just to update you on what's happening with the middle school. They've really been working on enhancing and improving the course selection process. So there's a brochure that's right now on our website at the middle school to give parents information on how to make decisions about acceleration, how to make a good choice for deciding whether or not to challenge, the students should challenge themselves in our high school courses that are available in middle school in earth science and algebra. And Dr. Sapienza also presented at the PTA meeting. Also, in the collaboration that Dr. Sapienza and Mrs. Brzezinski are having between Elwood Middle School and John Glenn High School, this year our high school councils came to the middle school. They met with all of the 8th grade teachers. They also worked with the counselors, as they always do. But in this case, they were really helping teachers to fine-tune the recommendation process. And then our counselors are visiting the English classes, our middle school counselors, and then, this is new, meeting with each student individually. That will become part of our guidance plan. It's going to be regulations that students in grades 6 to 12 have an individual session each year, but we're out ahead of that. so that we can help our students to make choices where there are choices. Middle school is highly prescribed, but there are some choices. But also, very good news, a greater use of eSchool. In a few weeks, parents will receive notice that they will be able to see in the portal what the teacher recommendations are for students going from 7th to 8th and from 8th to 9th. And also, when all of the students have made a scheduled choice, so it's not in the order that they're going to take the classes, but all the classes that they're going to take, they're going to be listed in the portal for parents to review. So increasing communication, increasing parent involvement, and hopefully coming up with a just right schedule for our students. And also, in terms of equity and an opportunity for students, so pleased to share that our music performance groups will meet during school day for the 1920 school year at the middle school. And that's being done through the 9-period day model. And again, Dr. Supplements will speak more about that when she talks about the reconfiguration. At John Glenn, some things we're involved in. For example, there's Inspire is leading work on a new textbook for economics. And our student Hannah shared a lot of the exciting things happening with our Science Olympiad team, our science research students. She covered our Long Island Science and Engineering Fair. And I think I have one bullet left, which would be the shared decision-making committee goals for the high school. They're focused on social, emotional, and mental health of students. And they're going to be looking for some communication tools. So great ways to reach out to students about what to do if you're feeling this, or how to find a resource. So it's really all coming together in terms of the class that Mr. Shanahan shared, our work with our faculty, and now this shared decision-making committee really looking at how to support students more specifically. And the committee is also working on the culture of equity. That goes along with the training. We have a team who attends the Long Island Consortium for Equity and Excellence through the University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. And Mrs. Brzezinski is one of the members of the team, and so that work is going forward. Then the next exciting thing to share is that we are moving forward with our Mindfulness initiative. We've talked about it. We've just done a little bit of that at some of our curriculum committee meetings and our curriculum conversations. We've visited some schools, including Smithtown School District, where they've had some programs going. We are very lucky to be the recipient of a donation of instruction from our former school psychologist, Dr. Pantalino, and a colleague of his, Dr. Fisher. They received training in co-room mindfulness. So what's really interesting about co-room mindfulness is that it is designed primarily for college students. And it was developed to address the high level of stress that college students are experiencing. And the program has been quite successful. And it's a very straightforward 4-session program, 75 minutes each. And it really gets to just the basics of mindfulness and mindfulness tools, learning to breathe, learning to relax, learning to assess your own stress level. So we are exploring what our next steps will be with CORU. At this time, we have a group of volunteer staff members from the high school, and we will be taking a look at if we can offer this to seniors, because that's the only group it would be appropriate for as it's pushed down into high schools. Also, thanks to the generosity of the Elwood Booster Club, we're running Introduction to Yoga for Staff, 2 sessions after school. And the goal of this is, again, it's another aspect of mindfulness. In this case, it's through body movement. But the idea is, the reason why mindfulness programs often don't have traction and don't result in changes is because it's just a lesson that you bring in and do, and then it's over. But really, mindfulness is about how we approach our lives. And it's how we approach the demands and tasks and challenges of our lives. And so to do that, part of that is self-care. And so one of the messages we've expressed to faculty this year is to bring your best self to the classroom. Part of that is ensuring that you are taking care of yourself. And again, Mr. Shanahan bringing that to our students as well in the health class, talking about health, diet, exercise, and all the things that allow us to perform at our peak. So the first step of all of our work has been with staff through our superintendent's conference days, through these specific initiatives. The next step is working more specifically with students in very concrete ways. And so we're looking to pilot the Mind Up curriculum this spring. Mind Up curriculum is a research-based curriculum. There's just a little brief description there. It was designed to address the global epidemic of childhood aggression, anxiety, depression, suicide. It is absolutely based on neuroscience. This is one of the programs that uses brain research that talks to children about their brains, about the structure of their brains, about why mindfulness helps them to relax, to be able to focus. It's also, it's easy to deliver. It's in 15 lessons. It connects to other areas of the curriculum. It's something that schools can train their staff in a way that's reasonable, because a lot of these things make some mindfulness programs really not attainable. So this is an example of the K-2 curriculum, and we're just trying it in 3 to 5 classrooms, and we're just doing a few of the lessons. We want to see student response, we want to see the ease of the curriculum, we want to see the continuity, and assess it. And we're doing that with surveys with teachers to assess the reasonableness of it and the effectiveness of it. Provided that that is good, looking ahead, then we're looking at training the Mind Up consultant and having a parent workshop and rolling out the program in an official way. And that would be for our K-8 students. For the high school, we're looking at that pilot of diploma mindfulness with seniors, and we're still identifying a program for students in either 9th, 10th, or 11th grade to think about what would be most effective. Then another aspect is working with our parents. So next week, the curriculum conversation will be held, and I'm going to introduce a book called 10 Mindful Minutes, giving our children and ourselves the social and emotional skills to reduce stress and anxiety for healthier, happy lives. It was written a while ago by Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn did provide a lot of the managerial aspect of pulling together the Mind Up curriculum, which was designed by neuroscientists. But she certainly added her authority of public following that helped it to grow in popularity, and she participated in a lot of the early work. So I'm inviting parents who would like to join a book club and to take a look at the 10 Mindful Minutes. It'll be good information, and if we move forward with the pilot, if it's successful, it'll provide a good basis of understanding. And then we'll discuss the book at our last conversation of the year, which is in April. So just a taste of the many exciting things that are happening in curriculum. This year, the committee's project is looking at study skill videos for our students in grades 6 through 12. Last year, we worked on study skills for students in grades K through 5, which were handouts drawn on Post-its with stick figures, matching the kind of illustrations they see in teachers' college reading and writing. For this, the committee brainstormed what are the topics that we feel are essential for students, and what is a way that students would actually read it. So if we hand our 10th graders brochures, will they look at them? That was a big question. So the idea was, let's go to where they are on their cell phones with their videos. So this project is being managed through the curriculum committee. We have 2 building teams. I've listed them there on the slide. Dr. Sapienza is working with her shared decision-making committee on this. And Mrs. Brzezinski is working with her planning group. Our librarians are very heavily involved because research is part of this, and we'll also be tackling research skills. So in the top bullet, I list the essential skills that the committee identified, and then the videos are going to be created by and with students. And that's the empowering piece of this, that we're going to have student voices talking about what it is they need to know about this skill and communicating in a way that we think their peers will connect with. And our goal is to complete 2 videos before the end of the year: time management and self-advocacy. And that's actually 4 videos, because we're doing a separate one for the middle school and the high school. And before our next committee meeting, we are working on getting one of the videos in a presentation format so that our curriculum committee members can weigh in. They always have amazing suggestions and improvements to the work that we're doing at the buildings. So then just looking ahead, the curriculum committee's next meeting is March 26th. That's when we hope to have our first video prototype ready. Our curriculum conversation next Tuesday, February 12th. Part of that is I'll introduce the book club, and then we meet again on April 29th. And as always, our curriculum office is there to answer questions.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I just love hearing you talk. I have a couple questions. The curriculum conversation, should parents purchase the book prior to coming to the conversation? Will you have copies there? How will that work?
I'm going to announce it there and ask for participation, and I'm going to send it out to the community, through our school messenger and see who else would like to participate. So I'll launch the idea there, but they don't have to have the book there.
Okay. Will it be available in the libraries or?
I'm going to encourage people to obtain them in the library or on their own, and then we'll have some copies for people who need them.
Okay, excellent. The next thing I wanted to, it's so nice to be able to, I've been part of curriculum forever since I've been involved in school, and I came to the last meeting and we were talking a continuation of the project we've been working on, and then now sitting in technology and being able to, just coordinate the two. And we're talking about something exciting today in terms of the YouTube, how do we best create that platform for it to get to the students with easy ability. So it's really just a full circle on that, which is really nice to see. The next question I have goes back to the original, about a couple of pages, when you talked about the family homework-free day. And that is from, what did you say again, from K to 8?
K to 8, homework-free night.
So I guess my concern and my question is, in the younger grades, it's not as much of studying as a build-up for going forward for a test or whatever, it's usually a daily homework, and then, but when you get into the middle school, I see it now with my youngest child, is it's really, homework it's like layered, it's like foundational. So she'll be working on something on Tuesday that's not necessarily due till Friday, or there'll be a test. And as a parent, I want to, and I'm sure as an educator, you want to promote that kind of planning, and that's a really important study skill, connecting it back to the curriculum committee. How do we go about approaching having just a day where we turn everything off, which I think is a great idea in theory, but how do we do it in reality? And I just want to give that, I don't want to need an answer right now, I just want to go forward with that, because I know, as for my child, you're going to say, you have no homework today, but if she has a project due on Friday, she's going to come and do it. And so I just...
That may certainly be better. And what we're trying to avoid is the project due the next day, because we know there are children who are going to be working on it the books.
Right, absolutely.
And it's, the best I would say at this moment would be that there's been dialogue with our faculty and with our grade levels and our departments. And so as we brought this idea forward to fruition, it was really after discussion. So because and there will be things to work out for sure.
Are we going to have it like a total turn-off day? And again, I'm just putting things out. Or is it going to be something like a cleaning lecture?
We're starting, it's really interesting because of all the work of equity. We're starting with just homework free. Because we were actually going to do things like reach out to some of our local community places to a family event. But there are some students who won't be able to do that.
Right.
So we thought, let's start this year with just homework free.
Right.
And then let's see what we might want to go to. Because we also want to put this in our guidance plan. We want to survey parents and see what they thought of it. And because that's a big thrust of the guidance plan is that you get data from all the groups to assess what you're doing. So we'll see how the response is from these first 4 initial homework free nights.
And you'll be gathering that also from the staff too, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, and we're putting together a letter and something for the website. And also, just this is not unique to Elwood. It's kind of one of those things that you'll see around on other school districts right now. It's sort of gaining momentum as part of this idea of creating time for families.
We all need more of that. Thank you.
All right, this part of the agenda is for our residents' remarks. We have a resident in the audience. I'm curious to speak, Dr. Zeby. Pass on residents' remarks. For now, thank you. Dr. Bossert. Up to our presentation for budget workshop.
At our last public meeting of the board, Ms. Dunkel started the budget process officially for the year in our public presentations by giving the board and the community present an outline of how we will be moving forward in our budget planning scenario. Tonight is a bit of a closer look of how we build our budget and some of the numbers that we're beginning to be able to plug in known important areas. So tonight, Mrs. Dunkel will take us through the administrative and capital component, which is always a captivating.
Thank you, Dr. Hauser. Welcome, everyone. So as Dr. Bossert mentioned, just to briefly go over where we are again, briefly discuss some of these challenges we're having at the last board meeting. The biggest challenge right now is the rising special education costs. That's the biggest challenge, I'll just leave it at that for now. To update as well, the expense spending has stopped as of January 25th to allow for potential, or exceedingly potential more savings towards the end of the year, which will help us build our fund balance. And based on those savings, the goal is to fully fund the undesignated reserve, which is the maximum 4%, and anything beyond that, we would be able to fund some of the additional reserves like the MLR, which is the accrued liability for employee benefits, and the ARS reserve. $19-20 budget goals, and Dr. Bossert and Dr. Hull will speak to some of these programs. Our goal is to maintain all the programs that we currently have, continuing with enhancement of PPS, mental health support, and student wellness, the Chromebook initiative that is now through grades 6 through 11, Teachers College K through 8, and continued support for AIS and EML population, and of course professional development for teachers and support staff. Does anyone have any questions about that for Dr. Bossert or Dr. Hull?
Can you describe for us the continued enhancement of PPS, mental health support, student wellness?
Yeah, Mrs. Marcus, as you and the board are clearly aware, it's been a focus of our program for the last number of years, that we need to make sure that while we are addressing academics, we are also being responsive to the whole child. So many of the initiatives that we began, we look to continue. Mrs. Hall just touched upon a number of the mindful activities and a number of the other social and emotional literacy activities that we've been engaged in. So it's not only supporting the program, supporting the staffing that we have in place. We're in a position where we have too many uncertainties to start making recommendations to the board about what areas of our staff we may seek to enhance, or what areas of our staff or program that we may be forced to reduce. It is too premature to start plugging in those definitive numbers. But if we do find that we have additional funds available once we've completed the rollover budget, the areas that we would look to enhance within our staffing would fall under the PPS umbrella.
I think you just answered it, but is there a plan in place currently to increase funding to that area, or just to maintain the amount of spending we're doing?
Right now, we are working under a flat rollover budget for the purposes of planning while we get the final numbers that assist us in making our final decision. And Ms. Dunkel will go through some of what some of those unknowns are. If we have budget flexibility, I think the board can count on hearing recommendations for further enhancements to PPS and student support. If we find ourselves in a position to make reductions, the board should not anticipate recommendations coming from that particular area.
So, we can have big ones, right? So this past Saturday, we went to the legislative breakfast, a long breakfast. It's a very big event going on, and combination of Mrs. Momalito and Dr. Bossert asked a very eloquent question about mental health, and basically about the state. What are you going to do? We have all this need, and our funding is flat and challenging. And if you can just maybe elaborate a little bit more on what they said, what the answer is, because it was just, we're looking for money, basically.
Unfortunately, I don't recall an answer to the question.
I don't think we got an answer, did we?
I remember posing the question, but I don't recall a direct answer. I recall a right turn taken from the question. But yes, one of the things we're calling upon and advocating to the state is for additional resources to be made available to school districts for the specific purpose of mental health education of our students. And and safety initiatives to bring to our school campuses. Right now, I haven't received an answer. Right now, the governor's budget run initial proposal has a 0.25% increase to the Elwood School District. We're hopeful that our locally elected officials can assist us in advocating for an increase to that allocation to Elwood that would give us some of that flexibility that we would need in order to enhance our current program. We're in a wait and see position.
For those that don't know, tonight, myself and Dr. Bossert and Mr. Tomio, as the legislative committee, did meet with our senator, Mr. Gorman. So we did express the need, and we're hoping that our voices will be heard and he will advocate on our behalf for that as well. So fingers crossed that everybody's listening up, because we all have the same purpose.
Even that this funding is not necessarily tied into our budget, but maybe given on top of. That's a very wish list comment.
Anything would help.
Anything would help, right? It's very expensive.
Moving on, one of the other goals is to maintain our fiscal health. This year, once again, we received no fiscal stress designation from the comptroller, and part of that is that we are continuing to fund the reserves, and the goal is to continue to do that, because the more we fund the reserves, the more stable we become, the better picture of health we have, and that actually helps us when we go out for our Moody's rating, and we go to borrow money for the actual bond. And the higher the rating you have, the lower your interest rate typically is, so we could save a lot of money over the course of the bond on interest costs. Just to recap from my last presentation as well, the administrative component expenditures include essentially all expenditures, staffing, supplies, and contracts for the business office, superintendent's office, curriculum, human resources, district-wide insurance policy, which is not insurance for our employees, but the insurance that actually covers the district. We have a contract with NYSER for any accidents or any happenings that happen on the district, anything that would be covered by our insurance plan. Continuing on the administrative component, included in the budgeted salaries and benefits are, of course, employee retirement costs, and this year the ERS rate has remained basically flat. There's no real savings there, but there's not a major increase either. The teacher's retirement rate has decreased this year, but just so you're aware, they have warned us that next fiscal year they do anticipate a very high increase, even though this year's has decreased.
Yeah, just on that, that's right, jumping in on that. Why is that a fluctuating number? Does somebody just choose that, or is it based on market?
Yes, basically the teacher's retirement system is based on market. Most all of New York State pension systems are.
Forgive me, Lorraine, if I could just add to that, there's a market correction update for when you have to look back at how the stock market performed when those funds were invested and growth was shown. So one of the things that's been an ask at the legislative level that was actually discussed with the senator earlier today is giving the districts flexibility to establish a teacher's retirement reserve. Right now we have the legal authority to establish a reserve for the employee's retirement system, but not the teacher's retirement system. If we were able to establish such a reserve and have the flexibility at the end of the budget cycle to fund it, we would be able to level off some of those increases, decreases that we experience year to year. Ms. Dunkel just said that this year we had a decrease that will help us with budgeting, but next year we have been forewarned to anticipate an increase. If we had the legal flexibility to take any fund balance this year and apply it to a teacher's retirement reserve, that would help us to offset next year's expected increase. We do not currently have that legal ability to put away money into a reserve because of that fluctuation we typically see in TRS. There is a lot of traction with that ask at the legislative level. Senator mentioned he would support that legislation today. I'm not certain the governor will. The governor is not a strong supporter of additional reserve funding. He likes to see districts spending dollars, not saving dollars. But this is a case where it would be wise planning and wise budgeting for a forecasted future. So we will see what will rule the day in Albany but we certainly are advocating for the ability to establish a teacher's retirement reserve fund.
Thank you for elaborating. Additionally, health insurance premiums have increased, and again, that's something we have no control over, and the percentage that our employees contribute is based upon their collective bargaining agreements. Some just highlights of our contractual supplies. Our legal fees increase typically on an annual basis. Nothing major, but they are continuously going up. And our supply expenses budget is essentially remaining flat due to the utilization of BOCES contracts and New York State contracts, along with our Ed Data bidding service. And as far as staffing is concerned, under the administrative component, we are looking to remain consistent with the current school year. The capital component expenditures, as a relate, but not limited to utilities, district-wide repairs, buildings and grounds, and it encompasses all salaries and benefits related to those both administrative and clerical and the custodial staff within that component. Also covers any equipment and machinery, and as well as any debt that we have, the TAMs, BAMs, and bonds. The utilities budget at this point is remaining flat as well, as we've done some improvements over the last few years. After a conversation with John McDonald, just listed some of the highlights of those improvements. Installed some time clocks, replaced some lighting throughout the district with LED. We've had some additional repairs and replacement for defective pneumatic temperature controls, repairs and replacements of defective hot water heaters at both the high school and Harley. Along with the capital component, there are some unpredictable expenses, and that is typically based on the weather. We have fuel costs and snow removal. If we have a mild winter, typically we are able to save a lot of money. If we have a bad winter, it costs a lot more money for fuel and snow removal for overtime for our staff and things like that.
I do. So we've had lower fuel costs recently, and so far, now on a pretty mild winter. Those savings that where does that get rolled over to next year? How do we,
I can't believe you just said that out loud. The truth of the matter is, we have to budget at a very high level for the unknowns, and we have to plan and budget for a wickedly cold winter with a lot of snowfall.
Right.
It's too early to forecast this year whether we will realize savings or not. I'm not sure if the board recalls, but the month of March was the time of year last year when we exhausted the largest percentage of our budget for snow removal, overtime for custodial crew. And
not to interrupt you, but I spoke with John McDonald about that as well, and he said realistically, the last 3 years, March has been the worst month for us.
wow.
Yeah, so too early.
Sorry.
But the way that budget works is any over budgeted item becomes your fund balance at the end of the year, and then we have to decide how to allocate that fund balance. It doesn't roll over unnecessarily into snow removal and fuel expenses and things like that next year. It's not legally permissible. We have to designate what fund balance will be applied to. But this is an area where we'd love to realize some savings, but the weatherman will determine whether or not we do.
Yeah, and in the fuel costs, I think we've all realized as we go to pumps, it's been a lot less, which goes to heating costs, which goes to, whereas a couple of years ago, we were crazy. Just curious.
Thank you for the explanation, Dr. Bossert. Future capital savings, the district has negotiated a contract with Johnson Controls for our EPC. This project is currently still up at New York State Education Department, but we do anticipate a response in the fall of 2019. Capital bond work has begun, as Mr. McDonald previously presented at the January 24th meeting. Phase 1 is to be completed, and Phase 2 is to begin in the summer of 2018. And all of this ongoing work and completed projects will contribute to reductions in repair budget for future years. Capital Reserve Fund, just a small update on that. It was approved by the community last year in May of 2018. It can be used to pay for costs of the objects or purpose for which the bonds may be issued. Voter approval is required before any expenditures take place out of that reserve, and the goal is to continue to fund that capital reserve with any available fund balance at year end. And right now, the current balance is $500,000. Now on to the tax levy. Brief definition. Tax levy cap is established based on the formula from the New York State Comptroller. Exemptions to that calculation include capital expenditures and any increase to retirement contributions that are greater than 2%. The tax levy cap is not 2%. The allowable growth factor in the formula is what is capped at either CPI or 2%. It's not the tax cap itself.
And Ms. Dunn, if I may, I apologize for interjecting. One of the conversations that the legislative committee just had with the senator is that there's a current proposal to make the tax cap legislation, which was temporary, permanent in nature. And there were a few asks along with that in our conversation with the senator. The tax cap legislation by surveyed public opinion is 80% favorable amongst residents. So when 80% of the state believes that the tax cap levy legislation has been a positive addition, it's something that we should expect to learn to negotiate for a long period of time. However, right now it is the lesser of the numbers. So the ask has been, if we were to make this legislation permanent, that it be a fixed 2% plus exemptions. Senator seemed to believe that that would be supported amongst the legislature, but not necessarily supported by the executive branch. So we may find ourselves in positions as we did some years ago, where the 2% tax cap was closer to 0% because of the adjusted rate to the CPI. So this is something we need to watch very carefully in legislative conversations as the budget is being finalized in Albany. Because if the legislation is made permanent, as it is currently written, we will have years forecasted in the future where our 2% cap is closer to a 0% number.
This is just this is an example. This is the tax levy cap formula. We start at the top with the 1819 tax levy. That's multiplied by our tax base growth factor, which again, that is supplied by the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance, something we have no control over. We then add the pilots that we received for the 1819 school year and subtract any prior year exemptions, which is the debt service. We come up with adjusted tax levy for the prior year. Going forward from there, we multiply it by that allowable growth factor, which is the number we were just talking about. And this year, it is at 2%, which is helpful. From there, you subtract the pilot for a 1920 school year, have a total tax levy limit, and from there, you subtract your capital exclusion for next year, which is our debt service, anticipated debt service for next year expenses, less any aid that we're going to receive, which brings us to the tax levy limit for the 1920 school year, which is coming out at 2.56%. Again, 2.56%, which is equal to 1.1 million increase in revenue in levy. This is just a simple history of the tax levy since it's been instituted in 2012-13 school year. Each year, each year we've approved the tax cap at the limit with the exception of the 17-18 and 18-19 school year. You can see here in 17-18, the allowable cap was roughly over 2% and we approved it at just below that. And last year's budget, the allowable tax cap was over 4%, and we approved it, I believe, at 2.17. It's recommended this, I don't say my recommendation at this time would be to maximize the tax cap for this year at the 2.56%. Because this tax levy is set every year, if the district budget is approved below that limit, in simple terms, we're somewhat leaving money on the table. The base for that for the following year is set lower because we haven't gone to the limit for the current year that we're in. And one of the misconceptions around the tax levy is that it's 2% for all school districts, which is not true. All school districts have varying limits based on their own individual calculation. So some school districts have higher exclusions, some have less. That's why you see a varying rate across the island. Currently, we're in about the middle range of districts that we've already previewed the tax cap at.
And if I may, for the purposes of administrative planning and furthering our budget development, I think the board should anticipate, the administrative recommendation to the board is that we build a budget at the tax levy cap of 2.56%. Last year, we had to have far more conversations and really, cull out more of what would be included because of the flexibility we had within the allowable cap to nearly 4.5%. I will not ask the board to make a definitive decision tonight, but I would ask the board to anticipate giving administrative guidance at the next scheduled Board of Education meeting. The recommendation is to go to the full tax levy limit of 2.56, and we will ask for a board directive at the next meeting whether we should continue our work at building the budget at the tax levy cap level, or if any members of the board have a concern about either going below it or a desire to go above it and seek a supermajority, which we will advise against.
I was just mumbling with Mrs. Mamalito that, the 2.56 max cap this year is under what we were last year by a hair, not by much. So even though we'd be going in theory to the max, it's still less than what we were last year.
And as
Last year, I believe, was 2.71.
And as Ms. Dunkel articulated, we are fortunate, I believe, to be right about at the midpoint of districts in our region. There are some school districts in Western Suffolk that have closer to 3 or a little bit over 3, and there are other districts that are closer to the 2%. So being at 2.5 puts us in a comfortable place when compared with our neighbors. So we'll ask the board to consider the administrative recommendation of building the budget at the levy cap at the next meeting. We will ask for some definitive guidance.
Moving on to state aid, as you all know, the governor's proposal provides for a minimum increase for Elwood School District. It's roughly $34,000. And a large part of our building aid has expired. Therefore, a decrease in this category will continue until we actually go out and borrow for the actual bond. The budget right now is being based on items like that and other things we know. Again, it's basically flat aid. Flat state aid with a decrease in building aid and an increase in unfunded mandates. Some of those mandates include elementary guidance services, transition to computer-based testing, ENL, private school transportation. So those are just some of the driving costs for unfunded mandates that we're dealing with. Continued work to be done. Administration continues to review the budget and adjust as information is received. Again, because the governor's actual budget will not pass until April 1st, so we're doing the best we can based on the information that we currently have. As Dr. Bassett has already mentioned, we're advocating for equitable distribution throughout the region. And items that we still have to review as far as the budget is being built is our BOCES budget, final staffing through all components for the 1920 school year, and a review of our transportation estimated increase at CPI.
If I could just go back to bullet number 2. These are numbers that I think it's important for the school board, all school boards to understand it, as well as our residents. Long Island contributes 17% of the taxes that are collected in New York State and receives 12% of the aid that's distributed for schools. If we were to receive 17% of the aid to match our contribution, our district would receive a much greater state aid figure, which would likely solve all of our revenue issues that exist. If we even increase to receiving 13% of the aid from the 12 we receive, we would be in a far more attractive financial position. So you'll hear a lot of Long Island receiving their fair share, and what that really means is just returning the investment we are making into the taxpayer. Thank you.
Next presentation will be March 7th, and items to be addressed in that are the program component and, again, estimated revenues at that time. Anybody have any additional questions?
Thank you, Ms. Dunkel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Still have an agenda. We are up to board recognition of donations. Ms. Marcus, if you would please be so kind.
Yes, we have a lot actually tonight. The first donation that we would like to recognize and accept is $1,600 from James H. Boyd Intermediate School PTA that is giving back to their families at that school by offering after-school fall and winter sessions of gym games enrichment on a lottery basis at the school. And we would also like to thank and accept the donation from Elwood Middle School PTA that helped to support the STEAM night that Dr. Hall mentioned in her presentation for $250, so thanks for that. And then $1,120 or $1,120 dollars from the Elwood Booster Club. We would like to thank them and accept for the purpose of supporting the following after-school clubs. They're providing Harley with the Crazy Eights Math Club for 4 weeks, Boyd Makerspace, they're supporting for 5 weeks for that club. And then also the Boyd Love Yourselfie Club for girls for 5 weeks. And an extra thank you for the Elwood Booster Club donating $3,000 to support the EMS Nightly News and the Digital Multimedia Club at obviously the middle school. So we're thankful for these volunteers that work hard to give back to our schools and our communities. And we're also thankful to all of those community members that support these organizations so that they can do that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marcus. It was very nice to always see a robust amount of donations from our PTAs and booster clubs and endowments. So yes, I agree. Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to accept the donations this evening? Motion by Mrs. Weiss, second by Ms. Marcus. All in favor? Thank you, Lou. All right, we are up to consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda this evening? Motion by Ms. Marcus, second by Mrs. Manuelito. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? 4-0. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tanya.
You may.
Very often when we have employees who are ready to be newly appointed to the Elwood School District, I advise them that they can either watch our live stream of the meeting or watch the YouTube archive of the meeting in the future. And I always say, it's, as long as you see at least 3 hands go in the air, it means you are now an employee of the Elwood School District. So for those new employees who are on the agenda tonight, welcome aboard Elwood Pride.
We are up to our second residence remarks. I will ask again, Dr. Dickey, still no, nothing sparked your interest, change your heart, nothing? All right. Seeing no comments from the residents, I will ask for a motion for adjournment. Motion by Mrs. Manuelito, second by Mrs. Wise. There is no questions or comments. We are all in favor to adjourn. 4-0.
Thank you, board.